My name is Bill Todd. I'm Chief Fire Prevention Officer with the City of St. Thomas Fire Department. And today we're going to talk a little bit about fire extinguishers, what type to use, when to use them, how big a fire you can put out, and just generally know that you've got the proper extinguisher. So to start off with, one fire extinguisher won't put out every type of fire. So there's four main types of fire. An A-type fire is ordinary combustibles, paper, wood, that kind of stuff. B-type fire is gases and flammable liquids, and a C-type fire is electrical. A D-type fire, hopefully you don't have to run into, is for flammable metals, stuff like magnesium. So hopefully you won't run into that. But you have to know if you have the right extinguisher to do the right job. Now we're talking a little bit today about fires in vehicles, going with what's happened recently in the area. So I want you to understand the most important part of what's going on is when the fire department pulls up to a fire in a vehicle, full gear, full breathing apparatus, because a car fire is almost a hazmat situation with the smokes and the toxins coming off a vehicle nowadays. If you aren't prepared to go to that and dressed to go to that fire, we don't want you to become a casualty. Number one rule using a fire extinguisher is we don't want to have to rescue you as well. So do they work on fires? Absolutely. Small fires? Yes. So we're going to teach you today what size of fire that your extinguisher will put out. First of all, you want a multi-purpose fire extinguisher, which is an A, B, and C extinguisher. That will cover the three main fires, multi-purpose. Very good. A-type fires is your most common fire that you would use extinguisher on. You get into the other two, you want to know the size of the extinguisher. You hear a lot of people talking about 2.5 pound, 5 pound extinguishers. That's not going to tell you anything. What you want to know is the classification of the extinguisher, and that is marked on the extinguisher itself. The ones we recommend for car fires, homes, is a 2A 10BC fire extinguisher. So the 2 stands for 2.5 or 2 times 1.25 gallons of water on an A-type fire. That's how big a fire you're going to put out. The 2BC extinguisher, or I'm sorry, the 10BC extinguisher, 10 square foot fire. So that's not a big fire. The one I was holding is a 2BC extinguisher. It'll last about 5 seconds in a fire. It's a BC extinguisher, it won't even put out ordinary paper fire. So you don't want this at all. 1A 5BC, 1.25 gallons of water, A-type fire, 5 square foot of a BC type fire. Not putting out a lot of fire, are you? It'll last about 10 seconds. We recommend 2A 10BC. That will give you a better job. 10 square foot fire again, and that's what we recommend for vehicles and for your home. How many people here have a fire extinguisher at home now? Hands, anybody? How many people in the last year have loosened the powder up in it? If you don't loosen the powder up, it's been sitting in the closet for 10 years. You look at it, it's in the green, it says it's good. If you go to use it, nothing's coming out of it. So according to the fire code, you have to do some maintenance on them. Every year at least, you have to loosen the powder. Every 6 years, the powder has to be removed and replaced. And every 12 years, it requires a hydrostatic test. So those that have them at home, you've had it for 20 years, probably it's not going to work, so you want to be getting yourself a new one. To deal with the old ones, welcome to bring it to any of your local fire departments and drop it off to them. We use them for training, and then we will dispose of them for you. It's amazing how many that don't work, even when we bang them around. So make sure you got the right one. So using the extinguishers sounds simple, not so much. I'm going to have Brent Smith, the Chief from Malahide, to come in and we'll go over how you use a fire extinguisher. You think pulling the pin is an easy thing to jump into. First thing you think of. You're getting a fire extinguisher, you're in a little bit of a panic anyway. So what you want to do is make sure you pull that pin. I've had fires where people said, God, I could have had that fire put out. It was a small fire. I found the extinguisher afterwards, pin's still in it and the handle's pulled together, right? So little things. We use pass is what we use. So we want you to pull a pin first. Now they come with a tamper seal on top here. To remove that tamper seal, a lot of times you just pull on the pin, it's not going to pop easily. So we tell you to turn the pin. That'll allow it to pop off. You pull the pin, aim at the base of the fire, and then you squeeze the trigger and wave back and forth so that you cover the whole fire. What you're trying to do with the powder in these is to remove the oxygen from the fire and the fire goes out. That's how you use them. Keep in mind pass, it works quite well. Okay, any other questions on using a fire extinguisher?
One of the comments also was if you do happen to use a fire extinguisher, where can you get them recharged?
Okay, good idea. There's two types now being sold, and they are rechargeable ones and ones that aren't. So make sure you've got one that is rechargeable. And if so, you take it to one of the fire extinguisher companies to do them. Fire departments, we don't recharge them. So you want to go check your yellow pages and come up with a company that will do them. Remember, after 6 years, it has to be changed anyway. So after 12 years, hydrostatic or buy a new one.
Where's the place to get them? Buy a new one, is it?
Yep, any hardware store. Yep, any store will get them for you. Remember, it's the size that counts. You're going to fight a fire in a car. You want to make sure you have enough fire extinguisher to do the job you're trying to do. You have to make wise decisions before you start because it's a dangerous situation. Wise decision, how big is the fire? How big of a fire can I put out? If the fire is beyond the capability of a fire extinguisher, you don't want to be going there with it. If it's a small enough fire, you can put out. So as far as having a fire extinguisher in a vehicle, good idea. Commercial vehicles already carry them. They carry a bigger extinguisher because it's used for trucks and above. So for a vehicle, we're saying 2A, 10BC. Have it in your vehicle. And you should check it all the time. Make sure that this tamper seal doesn't move. If the pin comes out, chances are it could discharge in your vehicle. And when you go to use it, it's not going to work. So you should check it at least once a month to make sure it's in pressure, that it's ready to go. If it's not, it'll have to be recharged. Having them in your vehicle, excellent idea. Remember, use them safely. Don't become putting out fire outdoors, a couple of very important things. Number one, wind direction. You always want to have the wind at your back as you approach a fire. If you go in to do this fire, you've got the wind in your face, you've got powder in your face, you've got smoke in your face, it's the wrong way to go. So make sure that you approach the fire with the wind to your back. As we talked about earlier on, pull your pin, turn it, that breaks the seal. Okay, open up, and before you approach a fire, give it a little shot with your extinguisher, just a little shot to make sure it is going to work before you get into problems. So we'll make fire now. You've decided you have an extinguisher that is big enough, is properly been serviced, and will put out the fire. So you will approach the fire, and at about 8 to 10 feet from the fire, you aim at the base of the fire and go back and forth to make sure you put the fire out. The fire's out, you walk away from it. So we'll try it again. We have someone who would like to.
Okay, so I've already used it, so you're basically going to do exactly the same. You're going to do the same thing that I did. Yep. So you're going to approach it into your back. Yep. When you're 8 to 10 feet, as Bill had said, you're going to squeeze the trigger. Yep. And you're going to sweep back and forth until the fire is out. And then you're going to back away from the fire. Never turn your back on a fire. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. That extinguisher, we had 3 little blasts. It's almost empty. So that tells you 20 seconds and it's all over with that size. If you have one of those little ones, you've got all kinds of problems, eh? So that's the size you want. Okay, we'll show you quickly at a vehicle where fires would normally start and how you would deal with them. Okay, so when you're dealing with a fire in a vehicle, usually 2 places that fire could start. One, in the case of a collision, it would be under the hood. There's a firewall between the front of the vehicle and the compartment. Unfortunately, a lot of times in a collision, that becomes compromised. So what you want to do if the fire's in the engine compartment area is you want to go up to it with your extinguisher, make sure everything's good, you got the proper extinguisher, and if the hood's up a little bit from the collision, is just put your hose underneath there, try to keep the hood down if you can, and spray and use the whole fire extinguisher on it. If the fire's in the compartment area, a lot of times it's electrical and it'll be in the dash area. So we'll show you how to deal. What you want to do is go in, use your fire extinguisher in that dash area. That's normally where your fire would be in most fires or most car collisions. So when we do approach a vehicle on fire, you don't want to come at it from the front of it. You want to decide where the fire is. Again, the wind part of it. It's not a good idea to stand right beside a tire. A lot of times those tires will explode and the flames could be coming out underneath. If you didn't see it, that tire will explode, and that's never a good thing. So in this particular case, what we're going to do is we've got wind behind us here. Brent's going to come up from this side. He's got his extinguisher ready to go. And I pop that hood a little bit, Brent, so he can stick the hose under. Okay. So when you're dealing with a fire in the compartment area, you have to deal with the airbags, and they could be in the steering wheel, in the dash, in the curtain above you, in the door jamb. So keep that in mind when you approach the vehicle. Okay, and so you approach from this side. Okay, so in conclusion today, a few important points to take out of this. Number 1, don't become a casualty. A car fire is a nasty thing to be going up to. Make sure you have the right equipment. You've got some help. A lot of times you want 2 people there if you're doing use with an extinguisher. And you can put the fire out, small fire. Before you start anything, whether it's in a home, whether it's in a car fire, call 911. Get us coming. If this doesn't work out for you, we're on our way. If you wait until afterwards, things can go sideways. So for those people at home that are checking their fire extinguishers, if you want to look for manufacturing date on it, or it's stamped in the bottom, it'll have the year of it. Remember, 1 year, loosen the powder. 6 years, you have to change the powder. 12 years, hydrostatic test on it. And if you want to get rid of your old ones, drop them off any of your local fire halls and they will dispose of them for you. Questions? Thanks for coming out today.